Hello, I'm Jenny Fern and welcome to my library. I'm a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and likes to talk about books, so let's talk about books. Today I have for you a reading vlog. I'm just kicking it off today. We have a 3-day weekend, but also it's really rainy today. Thought I filmed this in a different vlog, but I must have lost the footage or something. Look at this little guy. I have so many ants. Oh my god, there's so many ants. Eventually, when your home gets invaded by ants, they go inside all of your potted plants and take up residence. So anytime you water your potted plants, you have like an absolute swarm. Does that happen to other people? So not the point. What am I doing today? Number one, I want to give an update about my Buzzwordathon TBR. So I shall go get my notebook where I've been tracking that and return for the 2024 Buzzwordathon, which is a list of reading prompts hosted by Books and Lala. I read 4 of these books for a vlog. Those 4 books were The Gift of the Deer, Across the River and Into the Trees, Earthlings, and Sparks Like Stars. And I hadn't finished Sparks Like Stars in that video. I finished it afterwards and I really liked it. It has stuck with me. It's been maybe a couple weeks since I finished reading it. Solid book. Not something I would usually read, but worth it. I started reading a book called Polly for the character names prompt. I read a chapter. It kind of put me in a little bit of a slump because it's not really hitting it for me. So I have switched out my character name book to Ginger Pie, and I started reading this this morning, and I read the first chapter. I also read Every Falling Star by Sungju Lee for the Every prompt. This is a book written by a man who escaped North Korea, and it is about his childhood spent in North Korea and his ultimate escape. But it is largely about his experiences growing up in a more privileged, younger childhood and then moving out into a place where people were starving and doing anything they could to survive. So it follows him in both of those states, and then again, ultimately him leaving the country. And did I mention that that is his own story? It's his personal nonfiction story. I also read There Is No Dog by Meg Rossif, which was a really short, simple, comedic story about kind of an adolescent acting god who is the god of the earth, and he falls for a normal-ish woman who he is trying to win over. There's also this side story where his dad is planning on eating his pet, who is the last of his kind. It has the vibes of a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book, like those kinds of ridiculous stories, but I don't think it was executed very well. It wasn't written very well, but it was perfectly entertaining. I didn't have a rough time getting through it or anything. I am trying to get The Only Good Indians from my library, but my library card expired and so I lost my place. It could be up to like 6 weeks or something before I can read that book. This morning I finished reading volume 5 of Spy Family, which is just excellent. And volume number 5 is a lot of like kind of silly, non-connected stories, which I quite enjoyed. So today, there's a few things that I want to accomplish. I want to read a little bit more of Ginger Pie. I also want to pick out an audiobook from my library, and I would like to get started with Pluto, the manga series. I watched this anime. I really enjoyed it. It was really cool to me, so I wanted to pick it up and read it. So I have the first 3 volumes now. In the not reading world, I would like to put together this metal ring, which is the ring that will form a fire pit that I'm building in the backyard. Considering the weather, I can't really put together the fire pit. It is really wet. It rained a lot last night, so I can't really do that kind of work. I also might do a little bit of cooking, like food prep kind of stuff. Stay tuned to see what happens next. I just remembered I had footage of my lawn art that I want to put in a vlog, and I didn't have any room to put it in the last one, so I'm gonna put it in now. Clove, I'm gonna take that spot soon. Good morning. It is now the next day, and I didn't really do a ton yesterday. I did read though. I started volume 1 of Pluto, and it is very good. Something I really appreciate about that story is, I guess, kind of the complexity of it. Also, it has a bunch of robots, which is really fun, and it's like a detective story. The other part of it that I like a lot is the character design. They just really feel like real people. We also watched the movie Hackers last night.
But for what, you ask? World domination? Nay.
Just iconic. There were so many style choices. I don't think it really missed on anything. It was really quite good. It is going to be a clear day. Poured yesterday, and then we have 2 non-rainy days in a row, so I can go around and do all my yard work. I've also been trying to find an audiobook. I'm on hold for like 5 of them right now. I'm gonna go back in bed and continue some reading now. Has he not moved? It's like a full hour or something later. I finished reading Pluto volume 1. It was great. At the very end, we meet Adam, and that's how volume 1 closes. The North number 2 storyline I was so invested in the anime. I'm just a hair disappointed that there wasn't a little bit more room to breathe in the end of that storyline. I don't know, it just didn't hit quite right, I feel like. Anyway, I have picked out an audiobook. Let me figure out what that was. I want to do a 1993 reading vlog. Part of the reason I want to do that is because I really want motivation to finish The Virgin Suicides, which I thought I would finish before the end of 2023, and I still haven't finished it. I haven't really picked it up for like months. I got audiobooks that are also from 1993, and those are Black Swans by Eve Babbitt and The Geography of Nowhere by James Howard Kunstler. I'm gonna do some dishes, and I'm gonna start one of these books. One of them is 7 hours long and one of them is 13 hours long. So I'm a little bit tempted to do the 7 hours one, just like, I don't know, get into a groove of reading a book today. But also The Geography of Nowhere seems like a really, really interesting topic. It is a nonfiction book about city planning and like strip malls and stuff like that, I think. So, you know, I've just convinced myself to read The Geography of Nowhere. Also, I do want to do a full-blown dedicated reading vlog to that experience. We are in the kitchen now, looking at my bountiful harvest. Oh, and this one over here. Let me put that over here. There we go. So this is what winter does in California. You get shitloads of chard, different kales, collards. Where are my collards at? Here. Dude, these are so freaking good. Radish greens. I picked one measly little radish here. And then I have a bunch of wild lettuce and arugula. Then we got a whole bunch of calendula over here. It's been a really big harvest day. I think I might have a salad with this lettuce. I literally picked this out of my like lawn. It's just wild lettuce. Here is my arugula and my lettuce all torn up and put together. I am making a salad dressing now. I used one of these clementines. I juiced it, and I also got the zest. I'm also going to take this frozen lemon and get its zest. I just wanted to show this tip of if you use a lemon but you don't use its zest, you can just pop it in the freezer and then you can use the zest later till you've used up the whole thing, and then you can put it in the compost. Here's the salad that I'm going to eat. Hello. I know I'm blurry. I'm going to run over there and I'm going to show you what I made. Hello. I ended up napping on the couch for a lot of the day. At least that's what it felt like. It was a sunny day. I put together my fire pit ring. I did a lot of harvesting. Overall, it feels like I'm kind of fighting off some sickness or something. I feel very low energy. So I'm letting myself rest more than I would usually want to. Right now, I am going to read in bed. It's only like 6 something, but I'm gonna go read The Hot Zone. That's what I'm gonna start reading, and then I might transition into Ginger Pie. I also started reading The Geography of Nowhere through an audiobook today, and I've gotten 2.5 hours through that. It is really, really a topic I am so keenly interested in, and I'm really happy to be reading it. I feel cold and weak. I think I might get a cup of tea. Man, I have to do something with my hair. So I've been reading The Hot Zone. This is for my Buzzwordathon TBR. I have gotten to page 25. It has been terrifying. So I did look ahead to see what virus this is about. This is a true story about the spread of a super deadly, super contagious disease, and it does appear that this is about Ebola. The descriptions of what it does to your body, I think, will give me nightmares. This is not a detailed description of what happens to your body, but it's a good overall summary. The effects pile up one after the other until they obliterate the person beneath them. The descriptions are haunting. Just haunting. I'm spooked out. I did note that this book covers the time between 1967 and 1993, and I was like, when was this book published? This was published in 1994. So we're having a really 1990s heavy reading experience, I suppose. So I think just for my peace of mind, I'm going to switch to something a little bit more lighthearted. Perhaps Ginger Pie. I find that book slightly difficult to focus on. There are a lot of tangents in that book. Hello, good morning. It is Monday, the last day of this 3-day weekend. And this morning I have been reading The Hot Zone by Richard Preston. This book is really well written. It is so spooky. Reads a lot like watching an X-Files. The descriptions seem so like spooky and alien. I just feel like it's really well done, and the fact that it is real events and a true story, I mean, it makes me really sad. I don't prefer that it's a real story. I'd prefer that it was fiction. I am learning about a real thing, and I am learning about actual biohazard safety like protocols. I'm only on page 58, and I'm not really sure if I checked in that much about Pluto, but I did finish reading the second volume of Pluto last night. This is just such a good story for me. I love robots. The characters, especially Gesicht, are so human despite being robots. I just really like it. I really like this story. So I have been convincing myself every time I look into this viewfinder that I should dye my hair. I have some red hair dye, which I think will look cute. I also need to give myself a little trim on the bangs. And I think overall a trim for my hair. I'm currently processing. Hopefully I didn't miss any spots. 25 minutes. Oh, this looks pretty good on camera. I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to make some greens. Salt grilled greens. Hello! I have just cooked some rice with a whole bunch of herbs in it. It had chives and garlic and lemon zest and oxalis. And then I just sprinkled in a teeny bit of saffron on top to be a teeny bit special. And then I'm going to use that rice for my lunches for work this week. I have been listening to the Geography of Nowhere. Oh, also if you hear dishes being done, my husband is doing the dishes because he's a very nice man. So the book is called The Geography of Nowhere, and this is for my 1993 readings. It is excellent. I've gotten to a section where he's gotten to the point where we've discussed the impact of the automobile. We've discussed the impact of certain super influential individuals, and we have gotten to the modern day at this time, the 1990s. It is scathing. It is scathing and reprimanding of people who were irresponsible with our resources and with our thoughtfulness, thinking about what is the right thing to do and the best thing to do. It is kind of invigorating, and it makes me feel understood with feeling so much discontent for our current structure and organization of cities being so isolated, no common places, nowhere to be, a teenager that's like safe and normal and not like hoodlum behavior. There was something that I thought was so interesting, the idea of nobody who could afford to be in a car would ever be walking alongside some of the roads that we have because of how unpleasant the experience is. So when you see people who are, you automatically assume that like something is wrong with them, like they're like incredibly poor, or they have like something wrong with them. It's so true. It's so true. There are some places that if you see people outside of your little car window, you're like, why in the world are you here? And my hair. I think this is the first dry hair update. This is what the hair looks like. I think it's really, really cute. I haven't touched ginger pie at all this weekend. This character name prompt is really causing me some trouble. I don't want to go to work tomorrow. Hello, good morning. It is the following weekend and I have some updates. Have been reading The Hot Zone this morning. I'm a little bit past halfway at this point and I'm still really intrigued. At this point, we're in the midst of something that could be really bad, so the tension is high. This author does a really good job of setting the stage in a way that builds this anticipation for what the final outcome might be. This week, I also started on a new craft. This, I'm going to try to make a rag rug. So this tan fabric is from an old skirt that I do not wear. The blue fabric is from an old college t-shirt, as is the gray fabric. They don't seem like something that would actually sell in a thrift store, I think they would probably just get thrown away. I say in my intro now that I'm really into permaculture. This is a great example of the permaculture ethic: produce no waste. So this week has been a bit of a doozy for me. I have not been sleeping well at all. I did not sleep well last night either. I just feel like crap. Hello, it is now Sunday. Yesterday, I felt really bad. I think I'm okay now, but I am really focusing on resting, trying not to overdo it. Last night, I finished reading the Geography of Nowhere, and I did buy a physical copy. I'm so thrilled about that. I have a man. I thought it was so excellent that I did really want to own the book. This guy is really opinionated, and he gives a lot of his own, sometimes a little pretentious opinion on things, but overall, the view of America from the very researched historical perspective and the holistic approach to looking at where we live, how we choose to live, I just really resonated with the observations that he was making, although I do think that some of the opinions were a bit much. Overall, I thought it was excellent, and I gave it 5 stars. I also finished reading The Hot Zone by Richard Preston. I was a little curious about what I should rate this, and I did glance at the Goodreads reviews, and there were a lot of folks from maybe like 2014 era who I got the sense that there was a span of time when people were like, this is overblown, the descriptions that he has in this book are sensationalized, and this isn't really that scary. Anyway, after 2020, it really seemed like a lot more people were terrified of something. Excuse me. We're terrified of a virus like this and the potentiality of it being a worldwide pandemic. If this virus reached those levels, how truly terrifying that would be. And I really do think that that has to do with the lived experience of people through the pandemic, the appreciation for how terrifying a virus can be, especially if it's airborne. I ended up giving it a 4 because towards the end of the book there are statements about how viruses seem to be the Earth's way of healing broken areas. I just don't really think it's as poetic as that. I think there are conditions with which viruses become apparent. There are a lot of reasons why our modern world can lead to new viruses and the really rapid spreading of viruses, but I think it's a bit too neat and tidy to say that this is the way of getting balance back into the world. You know, I just don't think there's clearly no intent, right? It just happens. Basically, I thought that point was a little weird and maybe a little preachy. So this book, I think I mentioned it in earlier clips, it reads a lot like an X-Files with the descriptions, the ambiance, the environment, and the spookiness. It is a very spooky virus and its effects on people. The bulk of this book does cover a specific area and a specific mission related to Ebola. There was a lot of suspense wrapped up in that story because it could have huge repercussions. For my 2024 Buzzwordathon, which I'm tentatively using as a January TBR, I have now covered measurement with the hot zone, with the word hot. The rest of the books that I have senses, which I'm really considering reading The Scent of Jasmine. For relationships, I'm considering reading Hitler's Niece. Only, I have on hold from the library The Only Good Indians. And for December holiday words, I have Silent World. In addition, I have another book that I checked out from my library for the 1993 reading vlog, which is called Black Swans by Eve Babbitts. I am probably going to start this as an audiobook this weekend while I'm doing the dishes and stuff like that, because the last audiobook that I was reading was The Geography of Nowhere, and that's over now, so I gotta find something else to listen to. Okay, I'm gonna go sit down and not talk because I'm falling apart. I remembered something I wanted to say while I was sitting on the couch and eating my breakfast. I wanted to talk about, in the hot zone, the quotes which highlight the strange beauty of viruses. This first page that I flipped to says, Ebola is an ancient kind of life, perhaps nearly as old as the earth itself. Do you find viruses beautiful? Oh yeah, he said softly. Isn't it true that if you stare into the eyes of a cobra, the fear has another side to it? The fear is lessened as you begin to see the essence of the beauty. Looking at Ebola under an electron microscope is like looking at a gorgeously wrought ice castle. The thing is so cold, so totally pure. In biology, nothing is clear. Everything is too complicated. Everything is a mess. And just when you think you understand something, you peel off a layer and find deeper complications beneath. Nature is anything but simple. This emerging virus was like a bat crossing the sky at evening. Just when you thought you saw it flicker through your field of view, it was gone. The idea of finding a virus beautiful in its simplicity, in its effectiveness, in its destructiveness, in its physical structure, I think myself as a younger person, say in high school, I really exalted humanity. And I think part of me growing older, experiencing more of the world, experiencing more opinions, I have really come to think that humans are just a part of this whole thing. I think now I have the opening of being able to perceive life, such as a virus, as something that can be beautiful. My own personal growth as illustrated through a book, and my ability to comprehend the book. It's been raining, pouring this week. Hello, it is Sunday of the following week. Should probably close out this vlog. I tweaked my neck in the nighttime. You know when you just like move and then you can't really move anymore? That happened. I had a very eventful weekend. On Friday night, I went to a local hockey game, and that was so much fucking fun. Yesterday, I went mushroom foraging for the first time in my life. I have grown my own mushrooms. I grow wine cap mushrooms, also called King Stropharia mushrooms. I grow those in my garden, but I have never foraged for mushrooms. Yesterday I went out with some girls. The absolute joy in my heart for being able to scramble up a hillside, like bushwhacking, and pluck food from the ground. Yeah, I'm full of joy from that experience. Let me show you my bag. I also have a black trumpet to show you. Here's my black trumpet. There were also chanterelles, not a ton of chanterelles, but they were around. I ended up just finding a ton of false chanterelles, unfortunately, so I didn't actually get any of the chanterelles to bring home. But I do have an absolute ton of hedgehog mushrooms. So here's my little baggie. Okay, so you can see that they have like this belly button on the top. They're kind of this color, and then on the back side they have teeth, and they're quite easy to identify, and they were all over. So I'm gonna cook those up today with some garlic. So I'm so happy to have started learning a new skill. I had really, again, such a wonderful time, and there were some people there who were really kind and generous with their knowledge. So this is a reading vlog. Let me talk about reading. Didn't read at all. Didn't read a single page yesterday. That's a lie. One moment. So I did read a few things last night. I read Paranormal Plague, which is a comic put out by Holly Brown, who has been an art YouTuber and is currently doing a handful of things. And one of those things includes Paranormal Plague, a comic. And so I got the issue number 1 and issue number 2. I've followed Holly for a long time. I also finished reading Black Swans by Eve Babbitt this week. Oh, I've also been reading Berserk Volume 3, and I think I'm pretty close to finishing that. But I also still really have to finish Ginger Pie. Dude, my neck is so tweaked. Thank you so much for watching and joining me on this vlog. I feel like I read a lot. Obviously, it's been like 2 weeks basically. I will talk to you again soon.